All right, welcome in. The craziness of college football is continuing. We are a week post Ryan Silverfield being introduced as the next head hog. I'm Ethan Kahn, Little Rock Arc producer, joined by Roddy Bowerbo, and now we are starting to see a staff come together for Coach Silverfield.
Absolutely. Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports, 247 Sports, has been, he's one of the top guys in the entire country as far as getting out news as far as coaching hires go. And he's been pretty on top of it. He has announced a few big hires for Arkansas. It's looking like Ron Roberts will coach the defense. He has experience at Florida and Auburn. And then Silverfield will be bringing over his offensive coordinator, Tim Cramsey, who had Memphis as a top 25 offense in all years he was there under Silverfield. And a personal favorite hire of mine, I think, is David Johnson from Florida State. Really good running back coach. He had Florida State at one point averaging 214 yards per game, which is the most they averaged since 1995. Those are just a few hires that they've had. Targeting Larry Smith for wide receivers coach. But really quick, I really like David Johnson because what was an issue that Arkansas really struggled in this year was ball security.
Right.
And I think getting a guy like David Johnson in from, Florida State's always had a pretty stellar run game. And it was no slouch under him either. So I'm really looking forward to see what he does under Arkansas.
Yeah, isn't it about time that Arkansas had that elite running back? Go back to Darren McFadden, Alex Collins. I feel like most college football fan bases say they're at their best when their running game is great, but I think that's true for Arkansas, and so hopefully David Johnson is able to bring that back.
Absolutely.
Now, another thing I want to touch on from Silverfield, we haven't gotten the chance to talk to it much about that. He is the guy. There was a lot of up and down. College football has been crazy the last couple weeks.
Right.
Silverfield is the guy. Seen some Arkansas fans not too happy about that. I think people have started to warm up to that since
Absolutely.
the press conference, since seeing him at some of the basketball games. I think the best thing is that he wants to be here and he loves Arkansas. I think that's clear right away. And so whether you liked it or not at start, I think he is going to be the right man for the job.
Yeah, it's funny. I can't help but mention the last time we were here, we were talking about the report that Alex Galesh was going to be the next head hog, and that obviously seemed to snowball. But I think it has worked out for Arkansas. I think, if just kind of, let's say if you're looking at Galesh right now at Auburn, I know Auburn's having a few decommits, as far as recruiting goes. Well, Arkansas is the opposite.
Yeah.
They did the exact thing that many fans have been saying, and many people around the program have been saying for years now: recruit in-state talent, and they're doing that. They brought in the top 10. They brought Terry Hodges, flipped him, flipped Ja'Cory Smith from Oklahoma. They signed the top prospect in the state who was not committed beforehand. He's done a lot to really kind of reinvigorate the fans and say, okay, let's pump the brakes here. Maybe we're wrong about Silverfield. Maybe he could be the guy. Did we accidentally hire the guy? And I think it's been pretty cool to see. I like his energy. I like his charisma. I'm excited for the Silverfield era.
Yeah, let's talk about that recruiting class. So between the rankings that you see there, from early signing day, they're between 50 and 60th nationally, around 15th in the SEC. So not nowhere near good enough, but it was a lot worse before Silverfield was hired, and he got those in-state flips right away. They had 2 4-stars so far commit, 14 3-stars. Make of that what you will, but I think you have to mainly focus on the improvement from before he was hired to since he was hired, because all of these schools with a new coach did not have the recruiting class they wanted so far.
Man, yeah.
So it's hard to recruit when you don't have a coach. Now that they have one, he's starting to make the improvements I think Arkansas needs.
Absolutely. I mean, and like you said, he really came in and got kids to commit, whereas, oh my gosh, Penn State. Look at Penn State. They're at the bottom of the recruiting rankings because they lost everyone, and that's a storied program, debatably a more storied program than Arkansas, and they don't have anybody hardly committed. Silverfield has done an outstanding job of there's a phrase I like to use: Rome was not built in a day. This recruiting class, ranked 58th in the country according to 247 Sports, I do think it could be the start of something because it was truly the first emphasis we've seen on keeping in-state kids home in a long time. I mean, it was like boom, 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 in-state kid commit, in-state kid commit. Silverfield was working the phones, working the schools, trying to build up this program, and I'm really excited about it.
And I think the first step to that Rome not being built in a day, but eventually getting built in Fayetteville, is the financial commitment that Hunter Yurachek talked about
Yes.
in the press conference. He's all in on Ryan Silverfield, and hopefully the fans will get all in on Ryan Silverfield. Make this thing great.
Yeah, I think, and if I'm not mistaken, he mentioned something that in that press conference or a previous press conference, and I because it feels like Yurachek's had two really big press conferences lately. One where right after Pittman was fired, and then they introduced Petrino as the coach. He was saying, "Well, we just don't have the financial resources to succeed." Well, now he is saying that they now have they're reallocating funds to possibly make them in the top half of the SEC. Now, of course, there were lots of people asking him questions. Okay, well, how committed are you? Can you tell us what you're going to be working with? And he was like, well, I don't want to give a competitive advantage to our conference opponents, which is fair. But I think if he's actually saying that Arkansas is in the top half of the SEC, man, that's pretty good. I mean, the SEC does not struggle financially, but it
Right.
seems like Arkansas has. And so for them to finally see a financial recommitment to the school, I think that's great. And I think that'll help get them to that Rome level, like you said.
Yeah. The struggle though is how competitive that SEC is. So we are expecting to hear the actual dates come out for the 2026 schedule, but we already know Arkansas's opponents, and this is a daunting list to look at. In the non-conference, a trip to Utah, who is competing for a college football playoff spot this year. Again, we upped that from 8 to 9 conference games. So putting on that list, there's a Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, at Auburn, at Texas A&M, at Vanderbilt, who, oh, by the way, just got the number 1 quarterback. So it's not easy in 2026.
No, it's not. And honestly, it just kind of seems like it never really is for Arkansas. The schedule is always going to be tougher. And I think, there's still Silverfield is going to have to kind of get fans past we got to play LSU. It's like I think he's trying to build excitement for these games. And I think it was kind of, it was really tough because Arkansas was super competitive this year.
Yeah.
I don't think they were not a bad team this year. I'm going to just say that. I do not think Arkansas was a bad team. I think they were an extremely competitive team who could not get out of their own way. And, I think this schedule, they are going to have to fix a lot of the little issues that they had this year, fumbling the ball, penalties. If you can fix just those two things, I think you can steal maybe an LSU game. Lane Kiffin's there now, so we'll see how that goes. But I do see a pathway for Arkansas making a bowl game despite this extremely daunting schedule and starting the Silverfield era off on a hot note.
Yeah, I agree with you that Arkansas was not a bad team in 2025. Those margins between winning and losing are so razor thin.
So small.
And if you can get in a coach who gives you that advantage to be able to get over the finish line and finish those games. I think about Kirby Smart. Those Georgia teams find a way to win, even if they don't play well. I'm not saying that Ryan Silverfield has to be Kirby Smart right away, but if he can have that competitive characteristic to get them over the hump like that, I think good things are ahead.
I think people want to, people will say Arkansas didn't have much fight this year, and I think people will say that because they saw the final score. Oh, well, they lost by 3, they lost by 2. Man, they were fighting all day and night against a lot of teams that have better depth charts, that had a coaching staff, that had a head coach, didn't have coaching turnover. And, there's a lot of adversity that Arkansas faced this year, and I think if they can just keep some of those guys on and stack some of these young in-state studs that they have coming in, it makes it. I think it's going to do a good job of building forward the excitement because there was a lot to be excited about. The offense was pretty good. They just couldn't stop turning the ball over.
Yeah. Important dates to know as we're looking ahead towards next season. Transfer portal opens January 2nd and will be open towards the 6th until the 16th, and then another signing day on February 4th. So a critical time for building next year's team and the future.
And speaking of that portal today, everyone's portal guru Hayes Fawcett of On3 reported on X that Arkansas freshman linebacker Tavion Wallace will enter the transfer portal. He was the top-rated signee according to 247 Sports last year, and of course they lost their second highest one in Madden Amiava, who decided to go with his brother to UCLA. But nonetheless, I think you can still build. You never know. I mean, like you said, the portal hadn't exactly opened yet. Yeah. Silverfield could always make him change his mind. That is the thing that happens. Players change their minds all the time. That's why the portal exists. Who's to say they can't exit the portal, and come back to Arkansas? So I think Silverfield is working really hard to keep a lot of those young studs that like Wallace in. So yeah.
Yeah, well, the college football calendar never sleeps, and we won't either. And so you can keep up to date with the latest on this YouTube channel and over on KTV.com.